Hello, thanks for coming back. Mr. Osborne here, your online teacher. This session is going to be about fractions. I'm going to do 5 sessions on fractions. So before we get started, I'm just going to show you something. I managed to sit on this earlier. So my daughter is mad about dinosaurs. So around the house, I seem to be treading on or sitting on plastic dinosaurs at the moment. Okay, enough about me anyway. Let's get on to sharing the video. Let's share the screen. Fractions session one. That's Alexa going off. So anyway, so back to fractions at session 1 with Mr. Osborne. What are we going to look at specifically? Let's see if we can get the video working. Here we go, that's better. So what you will need today, apart from your brain and a good resilient attitude, is a pencil, a paper, a ruler if you have one. I say it's in every session. If you don't, it doesn't matter, but when we're in school, we always like to use a ruler to keep our maths work neat and tidy. And today, if you do have some objects of different colors, so maybe 5 objects of one color and maybe 3 objects of another color, it's purely so you kind of got some concrete resources at hand to help you understand the fractions. If not, please don't worry, it's not essential. Okay, let's crack into our warm-up then. So it says here, circle 3 numbers to make 1,000. Is there more than one way? Have a go at this, and I will see you in about 30 seconds. Okay, so you're back, and I know you're year 6 great mathematicians, so a problem like this shouldn't be a problem for you. So let's have a look. I've gone for 350, add 400 would give us 750. 750, what do I need to add up to 1,000? Here we go, 250. So 350, add 400, that gives us 750. Add the 250 gives us 1,000. If you were looking for another way, here you go, 350, add 400, add the 250. Fantastic. Right. Hopefully that's got your brains warmed up. Let's have a look at the session for today. So today we're going to identify, name and write fractions. Now, I'm hoping you're not sat here going, fractions. People seem to hear the word fractions and seem to fear it. Today's session is all about taking it right from the basics. Hopefully you'll remember what you've done in other year groups, but today's session is about maybe just getting that brain kicked back into gear and understanding of fractions. So there you go, nice animation, like good animation there. So here we go, let's have a look. First thing we really need to do is pause for thought. Okay, how are fractions used in real life? Pause the video, take 30 seconds, just have a little diagram, write down lots of different ways you think we may use fractions in real life, and then we'll come back together and have a look if our lists match up. Okay, so you're back hopefully with a list of different ways. Let's see if ours match up. So I was thinking food. Whenever fractions are mentioned, you always seem to see a pizza. That's because we're looking at sharing out the food, and you want to make sure you get a decent size or fraction of the pizza yourself. As you can see, this one's been split into 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pieces, and that's 1/10 there. Looks like it's ready to go off and be eaten. Another idea, it's my dog making a noise behind me. If we're sort of talking about drinks, or you know, is the glass full, half full, or is it half empty? I don't know, you decide that one. Sports, I was thinking about sports. A game like basketball is split into 4 quarters. Football, you have 2 halves of the pitch there. You have 2 halves of play, so you have 45 minutes each way. Yeah, that's correct. What else have we got? So in measurement, roadworks here, half a mile. So in all types of measurement, you could be talking about fractions. You know, I would like half half a plank of that wood, maybe, if Mr. Oswald was going out buying some wood, or so on. Money, yeah, fractions in money. If you maybe sharing some money out, you know, Mrs. Osborne wants half of Mr. Osborne's money, or maybe 3/4, or maybe the whole of the money, I don't know. But money is definitely a situation where you may use fractions in real life. Time as well, when we're telling the time, you definitely would have heard of quarter of an hour, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. And definitely this is one that maybe your parents are more used to seeing. Sale prices 50% off, 70% off, or half off, or 2/3 off. So that's just a few things that when we are thinking about fractions in real life that we may see being used. Okay, let's move on. Now, today I've just put a key kind of vocabulary slide in today to make sure that we have a good understanding of fraction. I'm just going to move the video. So firstly, we have this word numerator and denominator. Now, the numerator, as you can see, which is pointing to the 3 here, and again, we've got a pizza example. It's how many parts do you have? Now, first of all, how many, let's have a look at the denominator. How many equal parts is the whole divided into? So here you can see that we have one whole. So the pizza is one whole, and it has been divided into 4 pieces. So the denominator is the 4 pieces that it's been divided into. So how many parts is the whole divided into? Well, in this example, it's been divided into 4 parts. Now, the numerator, how many equal parts do you have? Now, we can see one piece of the pizza is kind of faded or has been eaten. So therefore, we have 3 equal parts remaining there. So this fraction is 3/4. So just to recap on that, we have one whole that has been divided into 4 quarters, and our numerator, so what we have here left, is 3 of those quarters. Okay, so that's numerator and denominator. So 2 pieces of key vocabulary you'll hear when we talk and discuss about fractions. Proper fractions. So a proper fraction here where we have the numerator which is less than the denominator. So this 3/4 is a good example of a proper fraction. So another key word there, proper fraction. Okay, we'll mainly be dealing with proper fractions today. Improper fraction. Now, this is where you have your improper fraction. You have the numerator, which is equal to or greater than the denominator. Sometimes you may hear it being referred to as top heavy. So what you can see here is the numerator, we have 8, and the denominator, which is 5. So this numerator is larger or greater than the denominator, making a top heavy fraction. So the number on the top is heavier on the number below, and that's known as an improper fraction. And then finally, I'm just going to move my video here, we have mixed fractions, which we will touch on today a little bit. A mixed fraction, a mixed number, is a whole number and a proper fraction together. So here we go, we have 2 and 5/6. Okay, now improper fractions can be converted into mixed fractions. Okay, and that is a process I'm not going to show you today, but that is a process you'll definitely learn in year 6, maybe in a later video. Okay, so just some key vocabulary just once more. Numerator, denominator. Okay, so the numerator, how many equal parts do we have? The denominator, how many equal parts is the whole divided into? Proper fractions. Okay, and there's an example there of a proper fraction, an improper fraction or top heavy fraction where the numerator is larger than the denominator. And then finally, for the key vocabulary, mixed fractions or mixed number fraction. Okay, there's a lot of talking. Let's move on and have look at how we can represent fractions. Okay, now I'm going to talk through this and then I'm going to get you to have a go. So when we talk about fractions, and especially in school, you may have heard of these different words here: concrete, pictorial, number, and worded. Now I know you all know what number and worded is, so just to reinforce what concrete is where we have something to hand. And I was talking earlier, if you have maybe 4 objects, of take 3 of one color and 1 of the other, and that is going to represent 1/4. Okay, so 1/4 is 1 whole split into 4 pieces. Okay, and you can see that there with our lovely cubes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes, and 3 of those cubes are red and 1 is yellow. So that is 1/4. So how could we represent that pictorially? Well, there you go. We've got 1 whole circle, which has been divided into 4, and 1/4 has been colored. Get my words out then. Again, just another way of showing this. We have a rectangle. Okay, because not all fractions are circles. We have a rectangle which has been divided into 4 parts, 1 of which is colored. So if I was to say what fraction of that shape has been colored red, you could tell me that it is 1/4. Okay, how is that shown? Well, there you go, 1/4. And then finally 1 out of 4, or 1/4. Right, that's a lot of talking from Mr. Osborne. Okay. Oh, just before we go, here we go. Have a look down here, concrete evidence. This is going to get Mr. Osborne in trouble, but when you're doing fractions, actually, food's a really good way of representing, especially concrete fractions. Smarties, Skittles, Kit Kat bars. You can see there, I've highlighted 1 finger of the Kit Kat bar there. That could be 1/4 that I was going to eat. So maybe it's a good opportunity for you to ask your parents if they can help you out with learning your fractions via some sort of concrete resource. But let's move on. Okay, so representation of 3/5. Okay, here, if you've got some concrete material, fantastic. Maybe have a look around the house, see what you can find. Pictorially, draw it down. You don't need that ruler, but if you've got a ruler, you could draw a nice, neat picture, write it down, and then write it down in words. Pause the video, come back to me in a couple of minutes once that's done, and we'll have a look together and go through it. Okay, hopefully you are back. Let's have a look through this together. What have we got here? So a representation of 3/5. I should have a whole of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. And what I've got is 3 out of my 5 are a different color. Let's have a look at that pictorially. So if I have got a circle, maybe a pizza, then the pizza would be divided into how many pieces? You're telling me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fantastic. And for this example, 3 pieces of those 5 have been colored in green. Now, what does that look like written down? Nice and easy. 3/5 there. Okay, and remember, that is a proper fraction on numerator and denominator there. And worded 3 out of 5. And just going back to my concrete resource, that's probably what will happen if you use a Kit Kat. You'll end up eating it. So that doesn't represent anything at the moment. So in this example, we want to look at the value of the blue rod. So what is the value of the blue rod? So let's have a look. Got a nice animation here. So as you can see, I'm just identifying that the yellow bar here is going to be our 1 whole. So that is worth 1 whole. Let's have a look. Each red arrow then represents that our blue rod has been split into 4 equal parts. Okay, and that's really important that it is equal parts, and those equal parts represent 1/4. Okay, 1/4 of the blue rod. So 4/4 is going to be equal to our whole, obviously. And if I was to ask myself, what's the value within this purple circle, I could quite easily tell you by looking at my model here that I have 1, 2, 3. 3/4 make up my purple circle. Okay, and I have a remainder there of 1/4 left over, which I have in my green circle. So just a quick recap there, we have our one hole, which is our yellow, we have our blue rod, which is of equal size and measure. Okay, the blue rod has been then split into 4 equal parts. Those equal parts are quarters, okay, 1/4, okay, so they're quarters. I asked you, or asked myself, okay, how many parts do I have within my purple circle? Well, I have 3 parts, so 3/4, and then what's remaining? I have 1/4 remaining. Okay, I hope that is cemented in your brain. Have a go. So what is the value of this blue rod? Okay, now I'm going to hand over to you here. After I finish speaking, pause the video, take a couple of minutes, okay, have a look, and see if you can have a go at this. Okay, so you didn't need to take a couple of minutes, I'm hoping, because you would be able to tell me that that is our one hole, and our blue rod has been split into 6 this time. So there are 6 equal parts, okay? Now, have a quick look at this. Tell Mr. Osborne, how many parts do I have here, which I've circled in the red quite easily and quite straightforward for you. You can tell me that. Oh, more animation. So what is the value that's been circled in the red? Okay. And what is the value that's been circled in the green? Okay, I'll leave those questions there for 30 seconds. Shouldn't be a problem for you. You could probably tell me already. I can hear you telling me. So the answers are 4, 6 and 2, 6. Okay, fantastic. Let's move on. So here we're going to identify proper fractions and mixed number fractions. Now, you remember, if we go back to our key vocabulary today, a improper fraction was otherwise known as a top-heavy fraction, and that's where you had the numerator larger than the denominator. Okay, so where the numerator was larger than the denominator. And then we had a mixed number fraction, which was represented by a number and then a proper fraction. So 1 1/4 maybe. So let's have a look through this model. Now, again, more animation. We have our one hole as our yellow bar. We can see that our blue bar is quarters. Okay, now I'm asking you, what is the value of the green rod? Well, you can look, and if I quickly look at the difference here, you can clearly see that we have an additional section added to the green rod, okay, of equal parts. So let me have a look. So I've got my one hole, I've got my blue bars that have been split into quarters. I can see below that I have an additional quarter added to my green bar. Okay, so let me just highlight that. So I can now take a look at this, and if I count up my quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 5 quarters. Okay, and that looks like another animation. 5 quarters. So that gives us our top heavy or improper fraction. Okay, now you can see, just quickly going back over that, I had my one hole. Below it, you could see in equal measure, I had my blue bar that was split into quarters, and below that of equal measure, I had my green bar that was split into quarters with an additional quarter added to the end there, giving us 5 quarters. Now, what does that look like as a mixed number fraction? That would look like 1 whole and 1/4. Okay, whereas you can see my yellow is my whole, or my 4 parts, my 4 quarters make up my whole, and then I have an additional quarter. So 1 whole and 1/4. Okay, I'm hoping that's made sense to you. If not, rewind the video back, have another look. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so it is time for you to have a go. Okay, now very much like my last slide, I'm just going to ask you to identify the mixed number fraction and the improper fraction or top heavy fraction. Okay, pause the video, please take your time on this, come back in a few minutes and we'll have a look through this together. Animation. Okay, so here we go. As always, the yellow bar represents our one whole. This time I'm going to have a look what our blue bar, okay, our first blue bar, I should have changed color on that one. Our first blue bar has been split up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts, okay? So I know they're worth 1/8. Now I can see below, okay, in a mirrored image here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but 2 additional 1/8 added to that. So it looks like that. Here we go. So I have my one whole, which has been split into 8 equal parts, so 1/8. Okay, now my second blue bar, which I've had an additional 2/8 or 2 1/8 added to it, then gives me an improper fraction of 10/8. Okay, now if I was going to write that as a mixed number fraction, you would be able to say that is one whole, okay, as mirrored the blue bar on the yellow bar, and then our additional 2/8. Okay, now mixed number fractions can be changed into improper fractions, and that is a session that we'll look at a different time. But just for now, I'm hoping you're getting an understanding and using this visualized model here to help you understand what 1 and 2/8 look like. Okay, hope you did well in that. Okay, so a lot of talking through today. Hopefully you haven't fallen asleep, and it's time for you to have a go. Just some independent tasks, okay, nothing too heavy. Okay, today's been really learning as we go along, okay, and I really want to sort of cement those visual images. Have a go at these, pause your screen, come back to me in a couple of minutes and we'll go through the answers. Okay, so you're back. You've had a go at your time to have a go. What fraction of the line is green? If I wanted to paint a quarter of the whole line green, how many sections would I paint? So first of all, what fraction of the line is green? Well, our whole is 1, 2, 3, 8. Okay, so our whole has been split into 8 parts. What part is green? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So nice and easy. 5/8 would be the answer there. Now, if I wanted to paint the whole line, sorry, not paint the whole line. If I wanted to paint a quarter of that line green, okay, how many sections would I have to paint? Well, I know I'd have to paint 2/8 of that section green. Okay, nice and easy, I hope, nice and straightforward. Here, what fractions are shaded red? Just getting you thinking about your fractions, okay, and writing those fractions out so you've got a good understanding of how to write them. I'm looking at all those fractions and I'm thinking they're definitely all proper fractions. So what fractions are shaded red? Well, number 1, I can see it's been split into 4 and 1 part is shaded red, so it would give me 1/4. I can see we have 6 equal parts, 3 of which are shaded red, so it will give me 3/6, otherwise known as 1/2. Okay, that's another session we'll have at some point, looking at simplifying fractions and equivalent fractions. I think that's next on our list to look at. Okay, so the next one I can see we've got 1, 2, 3 equal parts, 2 of which have been shaded red, which gives us 2/3. And here, slightly more sections. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. Just wanted to double check. So we have 9 sections. How many are colored red? Well, it's 7. So we have 7/9. Okay, and then the final part of what I wanted you to look at independently today was to identify the improper fraction and mixed number fraction. The blue bar in this instance is our whole. So I can see our whole bar underneath in the yellow that has been split into 3 equal sections, okay, with an additional section. So we have thirds and then we have an additional 1/3. So if you had written 4/3, you would have got that correct. And if you had written it as a mixed number, you would have 1 and 1/3. Okay, it's quite a heavy session today, heavy going, but I'm sure you are fine with it. Like I always say, if you ever need to go back, feel free to go back and have a look. This is really just a good recap on looking at fractions for you from what you might have done in other year groups and moving forward into year 6. Now, I know this is our first fraction session and we'll continue to move forwards in the right direction. Okay, next time, animation, of course, and next time we are going to be looking at equivalent fractions. Okay, that's something that you will need to know. And thank you for coming along to this session. I'll see you next time, Mr.